everybody, and welcome to round 3 of the Tail Racing Ring Runners for Season 9. We are, for the first time, just using the Nordcypher because it is the Legends Ford we are using for this round of the Championship. Looking forward to it. It's a very, very different proposition from the HPDs that we had in round 2, that's for sure. Myself, Ian and James Parfitt will be with you for the race again. And it's foggy as well, James, quite apart from the fact this car's very, very different. The conditions are vastly different as well.
Yes, it's going to be very, very interesting for these guys to work this out. The only good thing is, as I said, it is just the Nord. So we'll see how they get on. We're just coming towards the end of qualifying. This car's... I don't really know, to be honest. Again, not something we drive around the Nords very often.
No, or at all, to be honest. I wouldn't know how this car handles in any way, to be honest with you. It's like a bit of a mission. It's actually a bit quicker than I thought. I must admit, it looks a bit nippy. So it's still over 8 minutes to do just the Nordcypher. I suppose the top end straight line speed is not great, but yeah, it looks. I was expecting something really very slow, but actually through the corners, through the shorter straights, it's actually quite quick. Just gets over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
It struggles its way up to 100, but yeah, it should be good. It should be something very, very different anyway, and that's exactly what the series is all about. Every week we race on the Nordcypher in an array of different cars. For example, next week it's the supercars, the new V8 supercars. So that's very different again from what we've got going on here. In the championship coming into this round, the only driver to have scored 2 overall podiums so far, Rick Putnam, is leading the way by just 7 points ahead of Corey Stas, with Dave Hernandez, David Mull tied in 3rd. And then further behind, we've got Krautwald on 52. Kosick is just ahead of Diltz. Then Pat Labros, Mull, Hightower, Green running out the 10 pros for this round of the championship ahead of round 3. In the AMS, we haven't had a repeat winner just yet. Pat Mace took the first round. Scott Sadler won the second last time out, but it's Mace who's got more points by 3 ahead of Sadler. Then Chase Petterjohn rounding out the top 3. Then it is Stephen Johnson ahead of Dylan Hessling. Tim Mochowitz 6th. John Amico, Houston Elliott, and Jamie Bender rounding out the drivers who've taken part this season so far. Ansi Sereno had his result wiped away, though, from the first round. He wasn't at the second round, and so that means he is down at the very bottom. It's been unpredictable so far this season. It's very difficult to know who is going to come out on top by the end of this season, to be honest. We've still got a very, very long way to go. But Rick Putnam, 2 podiums so far as he tries to defend his title.
Yeah, I think this could be an interesting one to see how these guys get on. I think this car lends itself to something different as well. Pat Labros is here, so that's going to be interesting to see how Pat gets on. We've got about 50 seconds before we start into the qualifier, into the grid for the qualifying. So Pat's here as well. Can Putnam overturn Pat Labros? That's going to be something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, I think. But it's whether or not he's going to be able to make it through, or is Pat going to run away with it? That's going to be the question and the story, really, what Pat's going to be able to do.
Yeah, Labros missed the first round, so he's a long way down in the overall points. But since you get 3 drop rounds, he should be fine to do well by the end of the season. See, Valsenso's got the best time in this qualifying session, which is about to end at 1:14.1. Finding that slightly difficult to believe. I think that's a glitch on our timing screen, to be honest with you. I think he is fastest, but I'm not sure he set a 1:14.
No, that seems a little bit extreme. Unless he stuck some nitrous oxide in the car or something, I'm not really sure whether or not that would even be remotely possible.
Yes. Indeed, it wasn't possible, so he's going to drop to the back. Pat LaBrosse has taken pole position again ahead of Rick Putnam with Evan Crautard and Corey Stas on row 2. Dean Dilts is fifth ahead of Stephen Johnson, who's qualified on pole in the AMS. Jason Hightower and Dave Muller on row 4 ahead of Dan Cosick, with Scott Sadler rounding out the top 10. Chase Petterjohn and Pat Meshaw on row 6. And then we've got those who didn't set times below that. Not sure there are too many of them either, to be honest with you. There are a few. Tim Watchout is 13th. He didn't set a time, neither did Dave Hernandez, Val Asensio, Dylan Hessling or John Amico. I'm guessing Asensio's time was wiped away because it was quicker than I'd imagine this car can, or any car can go around the Grand Prix circuit. Never mind this.
He's not going to be able to go that fast. Not going to be able to go.
No, anyway.
Now,
Putnam's got
I've got a question.
Eyes.
I've just got to really go on in conjunction with Putnam's car. Do you remember where it came from?
Yes, it's some sort of child's car, if you like.
Oh,
I don't know how to describe it, but I can picture it.
Yes, you are right. It is part of the little Tykes car that kids go and sit in and use their feet to push around on. So there we go. You do remember. I'm proud of you.
I don't have kids, so...
We know you don't have kids, you haven't watched Die Hard, you haven't watched Ghostbusters, you don't like Christmas, you don't like snow, and you don't like the rain.
There's a growing list of things that I don't like. But,
you ever said that could be an issue?
No, actually. Anyway, these cars, by the way, look comically small compared to the pace truck, don't they? You could probably fit one of these Legend Fords in the back of the pickup truck, actually. But anyway, that's going to be pulling off in a couple of moments' time, and LaBrosse is going to be in control of the field after taking his second pole position in as many weeks, after not taking part in the only round this season in 2024. Instead, he is only doing races in 2025, it seems, and so far he's gotten off to a very good start with it. Into the Tiergarten they go. And it will soon be LaBrosse who will get us underway pretty much immediately out the final corner, as now he's in control. We're not yet round the final corner, though. We'll let everybody catch up here, all 17 of them, and then he'll go out the final turn. They don't often leave it very long before they get the green flag waving, and so LaBrosse is going to lead in towards turn 1. Putnam's going to have bigger pressure from Crautard behind in second place as they work their way down the hill. It's going to be Crautard is going to get round the outside quite nicely there. He's on the inside for the next two right-handers as well, and he's got it. Up into second place ahead of Putnam, then Stas, who's fourth, and Dilts, who is in the fifth position. They get sorted out single file with Crautard taking that second position away.
Yeah, Crautard going over the top of Putnam. You see LaBrosse has just kind of run away with it. I wanted to jump in board because I wanted to see what these guys were like. I reckon if we get a good run on the Dargaho here, we could see 4 of these wide. That would be absolutely amazing. I think we've only seen that once, as these guys are going to start hurtling down. I'll say hurtling, well, 100 miles an hour. That's about as fast as they're going to be able to go.
Not that quick, but you know.
No, it's slower than my road car.
Probably the same, actually, although I haven't tried.
Have you not?
Oh no, too scared. Down the hill they go towards Schredenkreuz. It's just over a second for LaBrosse. If he can break the slipstream, it feels like that might be quite important this afternoon. But let's see. They're probably going to be revving it out, to be honest, so it might not be that important. It seems that Putnam, even in the slipstream, can't actually go any quicker, or he doesn't want to. And so he stays behind in third place down the hill in towards Arenberg. If they are hitting the rev limiter in these cars and they are struggling to go any quicker, that could be a big problem for overtaking.
Oh, yeah, dude. You think the major overtake we've always seen is the Dargaho. Looks like we've lost Dave Hernandez. He's unfortunately facing the wrong direction. There he is there as well. We normally see the Dargaho as the major overtaking position and the run possibly out of Burberg. We've seen a couple of brave people do it into Adenauer Forest and down into Arenberg. But as you say, if they are going to be maxed out and nobody's going to be able to go any quicker than about 120, then I think we could see, I want to call it the draft train, but obviously without the draft.
Yes. There is very little by the looks of it. Is side by side behind? Not quite. Hightower has gotten off to a good start on lap 1 for once this season, which is good for him. Hightower 6th place currently, just ahead of Johnson, who's the leader in the AMS at the moment, Stephen Johnson. fourth place at the moment in the standings. That's 11th overall. And at the moment, that's 16 points away. On board we go with him. He's got Mull right behind him, or we're on board with Mull, I should say. Johnson's just ahead of us. Sadler's just behind us here for Mull. So it's quite close at the top of the AMs for the moment, but it's all one long line, really. From 9th place, there isn't a big... from 1st to 9th, I should say, there's not a gap bigger than 1 second.
Yeah, but nobody's really sort of... It's hard because as much as I would love these guys to be like swapping positions, I just can't see how they're going to do it. That's the thing with it, because they're all in this kind of line, and Sadler's the last, and we've got sort of a second back to Cossack, Chase Petterjohn, Tim Watchild, Patrick Misch, Valacinio, and John Amico. Dylan Hessling's back there as well. I think Dylan's also had an issue with David Anders, but Putnam's managing to close in on the back of Krautfeld, so it'll be interesting to see what this run out of Bergberg does for Putnam and whether or not he can get there.
Yep, down on the brakes in towards Bergberg. It needs a good exit here, and it looks like Putnam's going to get it compared to Krautfeld because he's gone very wide. He's going to have to go the long way round, though, here, Putnam, and that's going to be a big, big problem, I think, through Kesselson, although he has still got the speed. It's a long drag uphill. It's going to take forever in this car to drag all the way up there. And now, in towards Kesselson, he is just directly alongside, neck and neck pretty much here, as he goes round the outside. And now they are stuck. Basically stuck side by side. The Brotz doesn't know who to give the slipstream to. I'm not sure it's making any difference anyway, and it looks like the inside line is going to be enough. Krautfeld's going to have his nose ahead and the ideal line on the way up the hill towards the left-hander, and in the end, will he get it? Yes, just about. That took a very, very long time.
Yeah. It goes on for absolutely ever, doesn't it? They're going over the top of the hill. This must have been an amazing race to take part in with these little cars. I'd love to have a go at these driving around here as well. But Putnam almost thought he got it. Then he kind of hit a wall of air, and then he just didn't go anywhere. That was it. It was just a kind of a slow run. But you can see them all in the background. They're all kind of doing the same thing. We've got Hesselink and Hernandez. Hernandez has just cleared Hesselink there. Putnam... clear Krautfeld clear Putnam, so that was back as they were as well, and that's the kind of the story at the moment. Rick Putnam still coming on. Stephen Johnson is in the wall. Oh, he looks like he's popped out of the carousel.
He was the leader of the AMs, and now it's his Scott Sadler, the runner-up last season in the AM Championship, and looking for his second win of the season, and the second win in as many weeks as well, of course. At second place, the battle will continue on. It's the group from second down to sixth now. You can see the 5 of them there on your screen. It's 1.1 seconds up to LaBrosse, though. I think this run up the Dottinger Hill for the first time is going to be very, very telling. If there is little slipstream and little chance to overtake down that back straight, could be a very, very difficult race for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's going to be really able to get close enough to somebody. Hightower is very close to Dean Diltz, mind you, and he's trying to get in, get that position away from Diltz. Hightower 6th, Diltz sitting in 5th. But yeah, there's not a lot of oomph in these cars, is there?
Not really. As you say, I don't think these cars are just made for it, really, are they? Have they ever turned right?
No.
Anyway. They make their way down the hill now towards Flatscore. They might get some air here. They're not going quick enough. There isn't enough downforce to keep them on the ground, but there also isn't enough speed to get them off the ground. So there you go. Put them very close behind there, over the top of the hill, which is normally a really dicey flat out or not corner. It'll be certainly flat out in these cars. Putnam's going to have a very good run in towards Trabenstratz here. Look at how close he is, just up ahead there. Oh no, the braking zone not quite big enough down here, I don't think, for the right-hander. And they might have an eye on LaBrosse as well. If they fight too much, then the pole sitter and race leader is going to get away very quickly, but the gap's still being pegged back at about 9/10 of a second into the small carousel. Will Krautfeld be able to get some slipstream and close in on LaBrosse here? That's the big question.
We're going to find out in a very, very short manner, aren't we? Let's be real. They've only got one more corner to go before we get onto it. And this is where we'll see what these cars have got. See Putnam pushing north just about of 100 miles an hour. Is he going to be able to actually, once he gets there, is he going to be able to pull out and do anything about it?
I'll give him a push. Just going to give him a push. Here we go.
I think
these cars are made for this kind of thing. Have a look at this. pushing him down the straight. Now we might be getting somewhere with Krautwald and Putnam. Now they're gaining on LaBrosse. Oh dear, look, that's what the inside looks like.
Yeah, that was off the nose cam. That's a bit shocking.
The nose cam is now inside of Evan Krautwald, so we can't see much from there. He is gaining, though. It's a really small gain, isn't it? The gap was just under a second at the start. It's just 7 tenths now. It is it's nose to tail, I should say, between Dilts and Hightower. They're doing the same thing here to try and catch Corey Stas. But, 4 tenths gains, 5 tenths maybe on the straight, and that's with a push. So I think on your own, you're going to be gaining very little. Very, very little, actually, on somebody who hasn't got any slipstream. But, the front three are a lot closer together now at the end of the first lap.
Yeah, but then they're going to spread. They need to be quicker than LaBrosse through the main part. Like the Dogaho, they closed up 4 tenths. They gained, I think it was like half a second on him by pushing each other, which was the right thing to do. That's the thing, it was the right thing. Putnam's not going to gain anything. We've seen his run out of Bergberg, and literally, you're looking at it, you can almost go faster in a Robin Reliant. You're running and pushing and that. But he had the right idea then. But now it's got to stay with LaBrosse for the rest of the circuit to be able to maintain and make that push work when they get onto these fast bits. And that's the problem at the moment. It does look like LaBrosse might be a little bit quicker through. But we've got Sadler, Mole and Kosick having a good old little scrap further back.
Probably be trying to stay out the way of this. He, of course, raced for a championship with Dan Kosick last season in the AMS, but Kosick has been promoted, and he's not quite scored as many points as Mason and Sadler yet this season. However, it's worth noting that you do get points for finishing on the podium in AM, bonus points that you wouldn't get, obviously, if you're a pro driver. So take those away, and it gets quite complicated, but take those away. And it'll be around similar to what Mesh and Sadler have been able to do so far. Mesh is third in the AMS in this race, Parfitt, down in 12th place overall. There's Putnam back to the rear of Krautwald, not quite able to get pushing him just yet. But yeah, I think the problem is going to be what you were talking about at the start of the lap. They are going to just spread out through the corners. And it's all well and good closing up by the end of the straight, but that's not where the overtakes are made. You need to be close at the start of the straight, and I'm not entirely sure how that's going to be achieved at the moment.
Yeah, I can't really see how. I don't really know. I don't want to sit here and say we are literally in for follow the leader, right? Because that would really negate the racing that we've seen from these guys. But it's also very difficult to see where the overtakes are going to come from. Starson's got Putnam in front, he's got Dilts behind them to close it in together. Putnam's still trying to get onto the back of Krautfeld, the gap back down to half a second. And then when they seem to get alongside, they don't seem to go anywhere. So where do you see the overtakes coming from? Because I can't really predict this one.
No, it's pretty difficult as things stand. Through the corners they go, and down the hill here. Putnam very close in behind Krautwald, right-handed through Alan Hard, where Krautwald went for a race-ending crash in the last round in the HPDs. He's currently running second here, along with Putnam, the only driver to have been on the podium at every race so far this season, already with a 7-point championship lead over everybody else behind him. It's this kind of consistency that won Putnam the championship 1 season ago, and he's already proving that he's consistent again here, running inside the top 3 early on in this race.
Yeah, he has. He's done a great job, Putnam, at the moment, and he's really producing the goods. He's leading the championship, as you say, by 7 points, and Corey Stas is behind him, so that's always good. It's just we talk about this series, and we talk about the racing, and we do necessarily say the one who's the most consistent of keeping the car on the race circuit, not having a crash, is the one that will generally win the race or be up in and around the championship. Look at Evan Krautfeld last season, or was it season before, wasn't it? Sorry. So, consistency is the key, and I think if you can consistently do a lap in the cars that you've got on offer, then I think you're in and around, going to be in for a good fight within the championship.
Let's see how the rest of the season pans out, of course. High charge pretty close to Dilts here. It looks like he's going to start pushing him as well. as they both try and overtake Corey Stas. Is he going to quite get to the rear of him? Surely he's got to try and push, because as soon as he pulls out, he's going to be going nowhere. Actually, it doesn't look like he's going to be getting anywhere near Dilts anyway. So doesn't push him. In fact, ducks out the slipstream, but not in a sort of overtaking way, but in a sort of try not to catch up to those ahead of you kind of way. Dilts does look up the inside of Stas. Side by side into the mud curve. Well, we do have action at the top of the hill. And here's Hightower choosing who he wants to prevail. Well, he's pushed Stas back into position here with Dilts on the outside line. Two wheels in the grass. Down on the brakes into the Starstrucker. He's going to go round the outside here, is Dilts. And he looks like he might have it, because the inside line at the carousel is always the place to be. Even though Stas is got with his nose ahead just for the moment, he's not got the exit. Dilts has got the inside line. Stas is going to have to tuck in. He's done very well there, Stas, to actually hold 5th place. He has lost 1 position, but he's done very well not to end up above banking there and letting Hightower through very easily. So he holds on to a top 5 for now.
He didn't have a choice. He didn't have a choice. By the fact that Dilts was still alongside him on the inside, he had no option. He could have even tried to run around the carousel on the outside, which, as we know, does not work. Looks like David Anders and Tim Watchow have just had a bit of dramatics, as both of them seem to be, I would say, look like they're going really slow, but it could possibly be that they are just slow. So these four are having a very dramatic moment. Stephen Johnson weaving his way through. Patrick Misha's in there. Valacinio's in there as well. So I'm not quite sure what's happened further back, but as per normal, we will look at the replays a little bit later on. But yeah, so for Stas, he didn't have any. He didn't have an option. You can't run around the outside of the carousel. You would be in too much danger. So for him to do what he did is the right thing. Stayed there. He still held the position in front of Hightower, and he's still now at least within the group. If he'd done something like run around the carousel or around the outside, he might not have even been in contact with these guys.
Yeah, or at the very least, he'd be at the back of the group. So he did a very, very good job there in a pretty tight spot to get in there. Like Martinsville Racing almost. You want to be down on the bottom. He just tucked in line in front of somebody else. Sort of short track style. Exactly how these cars were made. There they go. And Dilts has not got a fantastic run. Stats will be crawling all over him here through the Stefan Belafes, and Hightower is catching the both of them. He's got the double toe, of course, and he won't be able to go anywhere with it here. Hightower's just going to stay behind them on the way in towards the right-hander. It's going to come down to the back straight again here, and we'll see how they play it between the three of them.
Yeah, let's see how it goes here. I'm interested to see what happens with this one. They're not any closer than they were the last lap. It's almost like Labrosse gets that gap out to a second, and these guys manage to get it back down again. Well, this is where we should hopefully see them close in. I think this is going to be another section of pushing. That's what the actual nose cam should be, not the inside of Evan Crautfield's car like we saw last time. But I think this is going to be just another push scenario for Putnam. I don't think he's got a choice. I really don't think he's got a choice.
Tell that he might be too far back actually this time. He might have a bit of a slingshot because he started a bit further behind. He'll be building up speed here, and he might have a bit of a slingshot to just rip past him here. Let's see. Stuck in 5th gear. Of course, these cars only have 5 gears. And now he will just get up over the rise in the road. Will he get alongside and go for the move, though, Putnam here? He's going to play a classic Rick Putnam patient game, I think. Hightower has got a great slingshot there. Further behind. Oh, he has gone for it. Putnam, I thought he was going to stay behind. So Stats and Hightower are side by side with Dilts as well. It looks like they might even be trying to go 3 wide. No, not quite. Dilts is going to get pushed there on the left-hand side by Stas. So Crautfield holds on ahead of Putnam. Here, Dilts hangs on ahead of Hightower and Stas. They get single file. Putnam did go for it, didn't have any success. Stas now at the back of the group behind Hightower, behind Dilts as well. We do have the possibility, at least, of these guys getting side by side, which is a good thing. I was slightly fearing after the first lap that it would be impossible, but actually it is very possible. But no is made by anybody there, really, in the as far as the order goes, down towards the Tiergarten.
Yeah, there was a couple. Obviously, we saw Putnam have a go. Stas lost a place to Hightower. This is Sadler. He's chasing down Kosick. Of course, they were like the sort of compatriot, shall we say, last season. Because it coming up into the pros, Sadler's still there leading the AMs at the moment. Stephen Johnson was in there but has had a little bit of a drama, and Tim Watchell's been off, Patrick Meese's also been off, Valacinio as well, but Putnam is back again side by side this time with Krautfeld.
This time he's having a bit more joy as well down the inside, and Krautfeld's going to try and hang on around the outside. Oh, he's sliding! Wow, dearie me, he saves it. But he was right out sideways there, and Putnam's going to have the momentum. He's going to get well past Krautfeld here, and he's going to be in second place pretty comfortably, because that was a big moment for Evan Krautfeld.
Yeah, the question is now what Krautfeld's going to be able to do. He needs to get back on him. We know the pace is not there. There's not a lot of it. The Krautfeld's going to have to try and do it in the corners if he can. The same scenario for Stas, who's lost a place to Hightower, lost that place with Dilts, and Stas now at the back end of this group. Hightower gets a big old slide coming out of Arenberg there. He's now going to have to try and make time back up. It seems once you drop out of the, I want to say draft, but there's not a lot of it, but once you drop out of it, it seems very difficult to get it back.
Yeah, it does a bit, yeah. It seems like it would be a bit frustrating, actually, racing one of these around here. It's, because of the way that the racing's just working at the moment, the way that the cars interact with each other seems a little bit frustrating at times. As you were talking about earlier on, you sort of get spread out through the corners, and then you need to be close by the straights, but all you spend the straights doing is close to where you could have been and should have been before the straight started, and then you've got to do it all over again and end up losing time. These three have probably got the most life in them, though. As far as a battle goes, this one for fourth looks the most likely. It's about whether Dilts can hang on to fourth place ahead of Hightower and Stas, and that wasn't a very good run through Metzgersfeld there. And into Callenhart. Hightower just had a bit of a look down the inside, didn't quite go for it. But I reckon these three will be providing the entertainment for the final part of this race.
John Amico, it's a trip wherever he's been. He's going to take him straight back to pit lane. I think you are right. If we're going to see any form of action, I think it's going to come from here. It seems the front end have kind of settled. Labrosse, Putnam, Krautfeld dropping off. Still doesn't look like he's making massive inroads, but it'll be what Hightower's got. The weirdest thing is, and I'm saying this loosely, Hightower looks the faster of the three. Oh, he nearly wasn't, but he looks the faster of these three, and that for me sort of shows hope that Hightower's going to have a go at Dilts.
Well, let's see if he does in these next few moments. Down on the brakes before Bergwerk. Is there going to be a run up the hill here? There was definitely a chance last time, of course, as Dilts overtook Stas, and who smartly tucked into line before the carousel. Now, though, he's at the back of the group. Does he decide to push Hightower, or does he go for a move himself? Well, it's actually Hightower who's going to be getting to that decision first here towards Kesselsen. Is he just backing off here? Is he trying to get a run, or is he just going to stay behind here? On board with Hightower. Stas is actually losing time, so he's not going to be a factor of this one. He's going to be watching on as Hightower does go for it. He was just waiting for the exit of Kesselsen and the start of the run up towards the Muck curve. Inside line, inside for Hightower on Dilts. It's almost like a replay of one lap ago, but this time the inside line has a lot more success, and Hightower does get up to fourth place ahead of Dilts, and then Stas, who closes in as well. Yeah,
that's, as I say, it did look like Hightower was the faster of the three, and he managed to show us there that he has got through. The question is, it's taking him 3 laps to get there. So I don't think he's going to get to the two that have gone down in the bottom corner of your screen of Krautfeld and Putnam, unless, I don't know, something happens to the guys up there. But I think at the moment, it could be as they were once more to follow each other through. Putnam still chasing down Krautfeld. He is a little bit closer than he was. I do wonder whether or not these two have had some form of interaction with each other, because the gap was only about 1.8. It's now 3.5.
Yes, maybe. I kind of think Labrosse might just be quicker than the rest of them at the moment, to be honest with you. He's very quick last week. Now, quick again in these cars. Starting to really show himself maybe as a championship contender. It's always difficult to tell at this start of the season because we've had so few rounds comparatively, and Pat Labrosse last season missed all but 2 rounds. Now, he did win the 2 rounds that he did last season. However, if he only does 2 rounds, Labrosse is never going to win the championship, that much is very clear. So it's going to be interesting to see how many he makes, but if he does make a lot of them, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with for everybody.
Yep. And we did say that, didn't we? It's kind of almost Jesper Sandstrom of the IGP. You know, you've got to... once they're there, they win, but keeping them here seems to be a bit of an impossible task. And Labrosse is no different. He needs to turn up every week, and I think if he does that, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in this championship. Stas, Dilts and Hightower still going at it. Hightower has pulled away. I think people need to realise when we say that, it's not like a 1.1 second gap in a GT3. It's like 7 tenths. And he hasn't really made inroads on Putnam and Krautfeld in front of him. So whether or not he's going to be... I don't think he's going to get there over the final lap unless these guys up here have some form of major drama.
Well, that's not out of the question, but so far I'm pleased to say that only John Amico has had an extended period in pit lane. He's still having an extended period in pit lane, actually. He's been in there for nearly 5 minutes. Pat Meish did have to go down at one stage as well, but that was only for less than 2 seconds. So it should be... so he's fine, really, as far as damage goes or whatever. He hasn't had too big of a problem today. Putnam versus Krautwald then. Down on the back straight, into the fog, into the mist, whichever one you want to call it. He's into the slipstream, Putnam. Does he go for it like he did last time? Or will he wait for the final lap, knowing that the best place to be is in 3rd place, going on to the last lap? Here he is, just before they plunge a little bit more steeply uphill. Now they are looking uphill, and it really helps Putnam in the slipstream. He pulls to the left-hand side, he's not waiting around. And I think he's right to assume that track position is the best thing to have at this stage. He's further alongside this time. In fact, he's got his nose ahead by the bridge. This is a lot better from Putnam this time around. Down the hill they go, though, and Krautwald's just regaining some momentum here as they lock together side by side. Krautwald down the other side of the hill has more speed, in fact, and he's got the inside line by the time the braking zone comes round as well. And it looks like he's going to hang on. Putnam doesn't give up, though. He goes out wide, very wide. The grass into the wall. Putnam may have thrown his chance away at second there and then.
Done. He hasn't got the speed to break out that second. That is it. Unless something dramatic happens to Krautfeld, it's going to be Hightower, Dilts and Stas providing the action for the final lap. Labrosse out in front by 4.4, and unless Putnam all of a sudden develops a driving ability where he can actually catch up with him. And the worst thing is, I've just said that, and he's just pulled out a 10.5 on him. So I'm going to shut up and just go, yeah, go Putnam.
Yeah.
I didn't think he would get there.
I thought that would have been it for him as well, to be honest. I think it is quite difficult to do damage to these cars, first of all. But especially with a scrape like that, I don't think that will have damaged him. But I think the damage is done in the time loss. But, you know, he's only 7 tenths behind. He needs to have a big lap. He needs to get back effectively to where he was out of Gouwenkopf last lap. He needs to get there again and then give it another go because, yeah, it's going to be tricky other than that to overtake Krautwald. We are on the final lap, as you can see. And Putnam has only really got one chance remaining, and that is the Tiergarten on the last lap.
Yep. He's got to try and make that inroads as well. I will say, touch wood at this moment in time, there's only been incidents to go through.
Steady.
I know, I'm just saying.
We don't want to create any like I did last round. Who did I send off the road last time? Anyway, I don't know.
I can't remember. Considering it wasn't long ago. I can't remember.
I know. We've slept since then. So yeah, it's entirely possible. But yeah, we'll see. Putnam gets closer. Stas has lost a lot of time, by the way, in the battle for 4th place, and that's going to be a 2-driver battle as well. You can see it in the background between Hightower and Dilts. Putnam's right back to where he was this time last lap. I don't think he's going to give it a go in towards the muck curve like we've seen from Dilts on occasions this race. However, he is close enough if he wanted to, and Crowder's out of shape a little bit here to Adnar Frost. That's not going to come to anything for Putnam. So we'll see if we're waiting right the way round to the back straight for the final time, or whether we'll have a go through Castleton and towards the fast left-hander.
No. I think he would be crazy to have a go any later than the Dottingham.
Well, or any earlier. Any later
earlier,
when the race is finished.
All right, any... Pedantic again. Yes, any earlier, I think he would be silly. I think he's got to wait. It's the only real opportunity, but he's got to get that last Tiergarten right. He can't do what he did last time around for Rick Putnam. He's got to make sure he can get that right. Bury that final corner. He can't do what we saw from Dan Kosick even last time around, where he opened up the inside and lost that place to Stas. He's got to get through Tiergarten and do it perfectly as well. If they're side by side, he's got to be big and brave. That's going to be the question for Putnam. Can he, will he be big and brave on that final lap?
Yeah, we'll see here. It's going to be interesting to find out. I'm not actually that averse to him having a go at the fast left-hander, to be honest. I think it might not be the worst idea. However, I think what he will do is just wait. Because if we've seen anything from Putnam in not only this race, but in the past as well, he is a very consistent driver, not likely to get himself involved in too much trouble. So I would be surprised if he goes for something, although he's got a pretty good run. If he wants to do it, he's got the chance. It's less than 0.2 of a second. You can see him in the mirrors there. You see the googly eyes just popping out around the head there of the driver. Now we're on board with Putnam, and look at him gaining already in towards Kesterson. He could get alongside if he wanted to there, but that would be a very small overlap and very unlikely to work at all. Here he goes then. Will Putnam decide to give it a go on the way towards the muck curve, or are we going to see patience? It looks like he's losing time now, either by design or just because he's not quite as quick. He's not going to go for it at the muck curve. We're going to be waiting for the end of the lap as expected.
Yeah, I don't think he's quick enough. I don't think he... You saw him get close, and then they entered into the hill, and it was... It was like a chug going up there. So, yeah, I think Putnam's got to wait. Got to wait for the Oho. He's got to get out round Galgenkopf, tucked right behind him, use that downhill at the beginning of the Dottingham for the momentum, and then try and shift past him and see if he can get in front before they go up the hill on the run underneath the Bilston. But we'll see what happens.
We will. Through the carousel they go. And now down towards the highest point on the circuit. Further back, by the way, for fourth place, we've already mentioned that Stas has lost a lot of time, and he looks like he's going to finish sixth here. He's losing time periodically, actually, to those up ahead of him. But Dilts is not quite as close to Hightower either, so I'm not sure there will be any changes for fourth place, actually, on this last lap. It looks like Hightower might have done enough if he just consolidates this margin through the final sector for the final time.
It's just a shame it took him 3 laps to pass them. It would have been interesting to see if he got past quicker, whether or not he would have been able to make it up to the back end of these two. But it's just the nature of the car. I don't think that anything anybody could have done any differently to close that gap up for Hightower. It just goes to show that we don't often talk about qualifying because of the fact that obviously here anything can happen. It's like NASCAR. It doesn't matter if you're 50th, you can get to the front. But if it seems here with these cars, qualifying seemed to be quite important, and Hightower was showing that. He's got race pace, but he didn't quite get it right in qualifying.
Oh, sideways. Oh, wow, good save from Crockwell there, but Putnam is all over him now, and he's forced to maybe throw his strategy up in the air maybe and do something a little bit different. It's a big save from Crockwell, and not for the first time this race have we seen him right out sideways and catching his car, but this gives Putnam a decision to make. He is close enough to make a move before the back straight now as they go towards the Stefan Bellavest, but is he going to wait here? You'd imagine so, but what does he do into these final few corners?
It's got to wait. You've got to wait. You cannot give up an opportunity like you've got coming up. You know, and that's one of the things people don't learn when you're doing this track and unofficial. You start going and making stupid moves now, or coming into Klein Carousel, or going around Galgenkopf. You're going to cause yourself problems. Just wait and get the draft down that back straightaway. And that's all he's got to do. He's just got to wait. You see Labrosse going up around Galgenkopf now. He's got to do the same thing. Tuck in right behind him. Try and utilize as much as he can. Carry as much speed. There he goes. 2, 2, 4, 2, 2. Now use the downhill to close up. That will give him the opportunity to start going past him by the time he gets down there.
Now then, does he get there? Putnam last time gave it a go on the outside towards the Tiergarten and scraped the wall in his quest for second place. Is he going to be able to get past Kratwald here and score his second place of the season, or is he going to miss out and get on the podium in third place for the second week in a row? Side by side, he's going to squeeze Kratwald to the right-hand side as much as possible here as they go past the tourist entrance. It's going to be nose ahead here for Putnam for quite some time. Kratwald is going to have to hold on here. Oh, they're almost touching down the straight, but now coming back with the momentum again. Kratwald on the right-hand side is going to try and get here on the downhill now, under the bridge. Putnam's going to get back through again, down the other side. It's going to be side by side in towards the Tiergarten. They are absolutely yo-yoing, the two of them. Labrosse is going to win the race up ahead by over 5 seconds, but who's going to finish second? Putnam versus Kratwald. It's like a replay of the last lap. Here goes Putnam. He's going to keep it on the road this time. There's contact again, and he's forced off the road this time by car contact. Kratwald's going to hang on to second place. Putnam has to settle for third behind Pat Labrosse, who wins for the second week in a row.
Yeah, great job from him. Scott Sadler and Chase Petterjohn were almost side by side. Cossack, sorry, were side by side as well. I had to follow that Putnam battle, and Putnam did the same thing again. He did the same thing again. Patrick Misch here having a battle with Tim Watchow. They're running side by side down the Dottinger as well.
They certainly are. This is for 14th place overall and 5th in class. In the AM class, Misch gets through, and Watchow looks like he's going to have very little to answer with here on the way under the bridge, and it looks like Misch is going to get that top 5 here. He's going to finish 5th, and that's a little bit down on where he is in the championship. Of course, he is the championship leader coming into this. That will be taken over by Scott Sadler, who's taken his second win in 2 weeks. Misch has gone a bit wide there. Needs to hang on to his car. Oh, no, Watchow hasn't hooked onto his car. Oh, dear. Well, you can see they're all pushing at the end there. There is a very fine line, actually, between these cars looking very in control and very out of control, actually. And on the last lap, I think we've seen these drivers just fending and reaching over the limit, actually, of this car.
Yep. I think you are right. It seems to be a very fine edge, doesn't there? They look quite capable and stable going round Nords itself, but it seems like when you start pushing them in the braking zone, the cars are like, no, mate, you can't do that to me. I don't like it. So there's been a couple there who have made mistakes, Watchow and also Putnam, as Dylan Hessling comes over the line, which is just about there. There we go.
There you go, Dylan Hessling finishes 16th in the end. Well, a good race in the end here in the Legends 34 Fords. It's won for the second week in a row by Pat Labrosse. 7 Kratwald hangs on from Rick Putnam after their late contact, with Hightower finishing ahead of Dean Diltz. Corey Stas really lost a lot of time there at the end, but finishes 6th. First time out the top 5 this season for him, with Dave Mull and Dan Cossack next, holding off Scott Sadler, who wins in the AMD for the second week in a row. Chase Petterjohn rounds out the top 10, with Dave Hernandez 11th, the pro out of position. Then it's Stephen Johnson on the podium in AMS, ahead of Valocencio, just over a minute down, ahead of Pat Misch, who he held off, as well as Tim Watchow, who had that little scrape along the wall at the end. Dylan Hessling, the final driver to finish. John Amico, the only driver not to finish. A very clean race by all accounts, that one.
Yeah, there's a couple. Don't get me wrong. There is a couple that we're going to run through here as well. This was Dave Hernandez's issue. And it looks like for Dave, there we go. There he is.
There we go.
Coming down.
Into Arenberg.
Yeah. I think this could be overcooking it, to be honest. Yep.
Too much rear brake. And he slides his way through. Did see it in the background live, actually. Didn't see the start of it, but yeah, it was completely solo, I'm afraid. And that left him out of position for much of the remainder of the race. Dylan Hessling wasn't 16th all throughout that one, but he did have an incident that put him down there. This was down at Adenauer first, where he runs just a little bit wide there. Ooh. And tries to stay out of everybody's way by getting up over the curb and into the grass. And he drop down and would finish in 16th place in the end.
Yeah, this is John Amico's first little off track. It wasn't very long. He was off and then back on. So slides and then bang into the barrier, unfortunately, for John Amico. That car was a little bit beat up after that. Steering, you can see just a little bit to the right-hand side. Now, the other big ones that we've seen was Stephen Johnson. We caught this just at the end. If we remember, he come out of the carousel, spun the car up and did that, which was very unusual.
He was leading at the time, wasn't he? So, yeah, that's a real shame for him. He was on for a good result, but no, he spun into the wall. Dylan Hessling finally dropped himself right to the very back, although he was already at the back of those who would finish. John Amico, the only driver behind him. That's how you go for a spin at the carousel as well as Johnson. And unfortunately, they would finish down the order. Stephen Johnson wasn't done yet, though. This is just before Brunson goes over the top. They were very similar to Jason Hightower's crash in the HPD.
Yeah, very weird. Just went over the top, car got light, and he just had no steering coming into that. Now, this is Dave Hernandez's incident. Now, whether or not I'm going to have to go from Hernandez to Watchow because they were both relatively at the same time. But Dave, again, another moment you see, he's already coming round smoke aplenty, taking shape as they go through, and then he spins that car back round again. Now we've got Tim Watchow, his own little moment. I kind of feel we might be seeing a trio of incident at the same point here. Yeah, there you go. No! Oh,
no. Well, I wasn't expecting that quite. Wasn't really much that Watchow could have done. He held the brakes in the way that you meant to, but unfortunately couldn't help from being collected. And this is the sort of the back end of the real almost four wide moment we caught the back end of. Everybody looking for a way through as these two get back going again. It was a bit of a mess, but they all sorted it out. But although a couple of them running wide, Pat Mace there running a bit wide as he tried to make up some places, but they all sorted themselves out there.
Yeah,
back into line.
Yeah, this is, I think, just picked up that there was some form of things going on. Yeah, they've all just ran a little bit wide, so nothing too dramatic. Watchow had another moment after that, and he's going to run off to the left-hand side here. There we go. He's just off the side of the circuit and come back on. Unfortunately, timing software. This is what sent John Amico to the pits.
Okay. I think this is the only proper big crash, actually, of the race. Up on the curb, out wide.
Man.
That is a proper crash. You can't take the curves a lot more in these than you could in the HPDs last time out, but John Amico, unfortunately, with the combination of that curb and the corner as well, has done a lot of damage to the car there, and he would retire eventually.
Yeah, this is Putnam's one of two. I'll say one of two because he did the same thing. So that's him running a little bit wide. And then what we'll do is we'll have a look at his last lap. There's practically not a lot of difference. He goes in hot, tries to run around the outside of Krautfield, and literally, again, off the circuit. There was a little bit of a nudge. So whether or not that kind of had something to do with the nudge coming up just about now. Now, whether or not can Krautfield do anything about that? Don't really know.
Not sure. This is on the last lap for Dylan Hessling, doing a very similar thing to what he did on the first lap, although this time keeping it on the road and crashing at the other side, scraping along the wall on the right-hand side, but he would get to the finish, unlike last week. So we'll score some points for that.
That's
as
it.
he did last week. He did still score some points, but that is it for the replays. Not as many. A much cleaner race. I have a feeling that the slower speed of this car maybe helping everybody to stay on the road, but it didn't look too difficult to control either, but it did look pretty difficult to overtake on occasion there.
Oh, yeah, there was nothing there. As soon as you pulled out, it was just, you know what I mean? You hit the brick wall of air and that was it. You weren't going anywhere. But it gave us some form of action. I do wonder if Hightower had buried qualifying, how high he would have been. Would he have been onto the podium? Could he have possibly stayed with Labrosse? I don't know. It's a bit hit or miss on that one, but I think qualifying was probably quite important here as well. But let's not forget, we go on to the Gem 3 supercars next week. Looking forward to that one.
Certainly do. Very much looking forward to it as well. So very much hope you'll join us for that. It's happening on the 15th of January. We will have a replay not long after. But that is pretty much it from this round of the Tail Racing Ring Runners here in Season 9. Good to be underway in 2025 for sure. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside James Parfitt until we see you in 1 week's time for that Supercard class, the new Super H Supercars brought to you here on this Nurburgring Nord Cypher using the combined 24-hour layout for the first time this season. We very much look forward to your company then. For now, though, it's goodbye and see you next week.